Hello and welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. Now, many things actually stand as obstacles to Nigeria's judicial system, and based on the latest revelations by the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongban-Mensem, we now know that poor salary structure is one of them. At the opening of the 2021-22 legal year, the appeal court president revealed that the last time salaries of judicial officers were reviewed in Nigeria was back in 2008, and it has remained stagnant since then. According to her, as of today, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, who heads the judiciary, earns just around 279,497 naira as monthly salary, while other justices of the Supreme Court bench make 206,425 naira. Dongban-Mensem said her own salary as the appeal court president now is 206,425 naira, while other justices on the bench of the Court of Appeal go home with 166,285 naira every month. Now, the appeal court president, while comparing this with other African and Commonwealth countries, said the salary structure for judicial officers in Nigeria have consistently ranked poorly, and is now she's actually seeking an upward review to protect judicial officers from compromise. Well, to be candid, her revelations are quite shocking. Most of us didn't know this at all. And of course, part of the reasons would be because judges hardly speak out. They hardly speak out. It's only when they are in court. But joining me now to shed further light on this now is GT Ogunye, who is a lawyer. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Tell me, sir, how surprised are you by the revelations of the President of the Court of Appeal?
I'm not surprised to a high extent or a high degree, and that's because I've always known that remuneration and emoluments for judicial officers have been very poor for a long time, and they've been crying, begging for adjustment and realistic review. I know that a lot of Nigerians, or many Nigerians, will be surprised by this. But it's always
I'm indeed surprised.
It's always been a concern in the judiciary and outside the judiciary because of its implication for independence of the judiciary and for fairness for treatment of judicial officers. Yes, we only complain about dispositions or tendencies that could occasion corrupt practices on the bench, but poor remuneration is usually not discussed. What people focus really is how other extraneous factors or forces influence judicial officers and try to corrupt them or compromise them. But if you ask me, I will tell you that a fair remuneration, a just remuneration, a just recompense for the adjudicatory labor of judicial officers is one of the critical antidotes, if not the chief antidotes, to developing corrupt disposition. Because when you remunerate poorly and people have to do the job that they have to do, then things can happen that can make judicial officers to be compromised. Not just judicial officers, anybody.
The truth too is that if we do not pay our judicial officers well, what rights have we got to accuse them of corruption?
Exactly, that's the point. So they need to be remunerated well. Now, let me say that historically, the bar, and in particular Chief Ganifa, God rest his soul, he actually, if I could recollect vividly now, after producing a seminal work, a robust work, calling for fair remuneration, making comparative analysis of the remuneration of judicial officers across the Commonwealth and common law jurisdictions, and opining at that point many years ago, that Nigerian judges were the most poorly remunerated. He again touched this raw point during his investiture as the Senior Advocate of Nigeria. He was the one who gave the speech from the recipients when he was being made a Senior Advocate of Nigeria on the floor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. And he used that occasion to also call for remuneration, fair remuneration of judicial officers. So what the Court of Appeal President said, as surprising as it is something that we really need to tackle. And here is the thing. Unlike other public servants who have their labor unions, be it academic staff of university, be it doctors, be it civil service workers, etc., judicial officers do not have a labor union to press for, that's the thing, that's the uniqueness, to press for fair remuneration, to crusade for upward review of their emoluments, save occasions like that one in which the President of the Court of Appeal, made that statement. They hardly speak. So, and they are not expected to go and be lobbying legislators and be lobbying those in the executive branch of government on this remuneration thing. I know that that the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission fixes salaries and wages, and then to some extent the Wages Commission also does its own. But these are judicial officers. And so we expect them to continue to do their work. We don't expect them to be campaigning openly for a fair remuneration. And I think that what needs to be done, because it's important that after talking about the problem, we must talk about solutions. What needs to be done, in my view, that means that there should be a special salary scale for judicial officers.
Okay.
Doctors talk about their own special salary scale, involving them and consultants. I know that in that sector, nurses, pharmacists, all of them are always fighting that, doctors are being treated differently. But the point I want to make is that doctors always talk about this salary scale. In ASU, perpetually, you've seen this crusade going on for fair and just remuneration, adequate remuneration. So at this point, given the work that the judiciary is doing for judges, and I'm not talking, let me be clear, I'm not talking about special salary scale for the workers in the judicial sector, like Judicial. I'm talking about judges. They have to be placed on a special salary scale that will look at our entire circumstances in the country, the means and ways in which this can be fashioned out, and address this issue, so that there will be a grid that will reflect some inflationary rates, moving up and down, that will then call for the adjustment of those salaries from time to time. Because, hey, before now, if a judge in Nigeria were to be receiving, 200,000 naira per annum in the day of 1 naira to $1, that would be around $200,000 per month. And you think that that's much, but inflation has eaten up everything. Now, inflationary rate is ever skyrocketing, salaries are stagnant. So how do you address that? So that even if you review...
And just to quickly add, if a justice of the Court of Appeal earns around 166,285 naira, then I wonder what a judge of a federal high court would be earning, or even a state high court. I mean,
Exactly.
it's
I know exactly.
I can just
I know
imagine
that
how poor the salary would be. So it's no surprise, and when we see judges, for instance, I don't want to put it this way, but literally hawk injunctions, so to speak.
it's so sad. I know that some of our fellow compatriots may argue that this is not the total picture. Yes, they are entitled to allowances, including travel allowances, conference
But this is a
allowances,
key
and things
salary.
like that. That's beside the point. Salary is important. Salary is that amount that is meant to be a monthly or a periodic compensation for the work done. Conferences may come and may not come. People may be entitled to travel and get extra coats, and they may not be so entitled, but salary is basic. So, and that's how you measure.
That's true.
The
allowances and others.
Importance of the job that is being done, the value of the job that is being done is a salary is a reflection of the labor that is put in by that person that is working and offering services. And I think that the salary issue going forward has to be addressed seriously. Now, my recommendation is that since the judiciary, to an extent, can access funds. The Constitution says that the statutory allocation to the judiciary, and that has been part of the debate, should be payable to the head of the judiciary in the state and the federation. That's part of what Judicial has been crusading about, which caused the last strike. I think that within that paradigm, it should be possible to now address the issue of adequate salaries. That if the judiciary is entitled to receive its own funds as a charge on the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation or the states, the judiciary should be able to look at its funds and say, this is the salary that will be adequate for judicial worker, working with the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, the Federal Civil Service Commission, that's like the employer of labor in the sector, the State Judicial Service Commission, etc., so that across the board, at the level of the state and at the level of the federal judiciaries, including the Court of Appeal, Federal High Court, and the Supreme Court, then this salary can be reviewed, and then we can then say, at least talking about African standard, talking about general Commonwealth standard or common law countries standard, we can then say, these salaries are par with what their fellow judges are receiving, our salaries in other parts of the world. This is important. Judges are not even chief judges. I'm not aware that they are entitled to what we call now security funds, or security allocation, or security votes. I'm not aware that they are so entitled. So they don't have any slush fund anywhere to mitigate the effect of this poor salary that they are paid. So there are no ways and means within the judiciary by which processes can be generated to get them remunerated or give them funds in compensation for what they are losing on the salary head. There is no such way. If there is such way, then you look at it and say, no, that shouldn't be. That will also be prone to abuse and corruption. So what needs to be done without any attempt to circumvent what is necessary is to upwardly review this salary, peg it at a reasonable amount. Everything has been taken into consideration, and periodically review it based on a grid that will reflect some inflationary. For example, if you say you'll be receiving 1.2 million naira per month, and at that time 1.2 million is X dollars in the exchange rate, and then the exchange rate keeps having this kind of crisis, and the value of the naira keeps depreciating, you can then return to the grid on the table and say, hey, this is what has happened. So we need to reflect this exchange rate thing, and that's how to realistically do it in such a way that we have this special salary scale, and then motivation, commitment, and real independence can then be guaranteed. Because without good remuneration, you really cannot be talking about the independence of the judiciary, because they will always be prone to and be susceptible to all sort of things that they ought not to be susceptible to in the circumstances.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. G.T. Ogunye, for your time, and thank you for everything. All right, we'll take a short break now, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.